I'm Donald Trump from Metal Roofing Online. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a sump in this box gutter setup I've got here. Some of the regulations you need to know about before you make this sump up is the sump needs to be a minimum of 400mm long in this section here. I've made the gap here 420mm so that the 400mm will fit perfectly, because the laps come over here. You don't want to make it too tight to the gap you've got there. You want to make it a little bit smaller, so as long as you've gone wider than 400 with your gap here, the 400 will work nicely. Now the width in this direction, you need to know what you've made your box gutters. My box gutters are going to be 285mm in these sections here. So you cannot make your sump any smaller than the width of the box gutter. So that the box gutters fit inside this sump, I'm going to make the sump 290mm, so 5mm wider than the actual box gutters, which will still fit fine because my gap here is 300. So I'll still have 10mm to play with when I put the 290mm in there. Also, another thing you need to know is the depth of the sump. The minimum depth that you can make a sump is 150mm down from the top section here, which I've already made this up, and it is exactly 150mm. I usually, with my downpipe outlet that I put in here, I normally put a 100mm round pop in it, and so your overflow needs to be let out just as much water as your downpipe does, so your overflow is going to have to be 100mm as well. Normally I put that on the bottom of the sump as well, and I will take 2 PVC pipes afterwards down and bend them straight out the wall. Right, you can get these sumps made up by a sheet metal company, but it is best just to order, just like I've done here, like a straightforward box gutter, and make them up yourself on site. That way you know that they're exactly right and that you've got the right amount of silicone in there and the right amount of silicone around your pops, your downpipe outlets, because if you don't get that right, then the sump is going to leak and the person who has installed the sump is responsible for it. So it's best to just order a box gutter and bend it up on site and make it up yourself. It's a lot cheaper that way too. Okay, so I've got 400mm that way, which I've already had this made up at 400mm. I've got my 150mm depth down. I know both sides of my sump here are perfectly level because I put this box gutter support in. If you've got one side that's slightly higher than the other, then you need to work that out by putting a level across, and you may need to make one of these sides slightly higher than the other one so that the base of the sump is level. And I was going to make the width that way 290mm. Now what I need to do is I need to stop end both sides of this box gutter here to turn it into a sump. So with this short side, I need to stop end 230mm. So I'll just write that down. And this longer side needs to be 470mm. Take this box gutter down onto the concrete there, so it'll be a bit easier to make it up on the ground, and I'll stop in both sides of it and I'll put the downpipe pops in as well. Now I'm going to turn this box gutter into a sump by stop ending both the sides to the height that I needed to. The short side that I need to stop end is 230mm. Before you get started, just make sure the edge of your box gutter here is square. I've already checked this one, so I know this edge is square here, so I can measure off from that square edge and I'll know that the edge of my sump is going to be square. So 230 mil, you just want to mark that all the way along this edge here. Then the width of my sump was 290 mil, so I just need to add that on from that first mark, 290 mil. And then my last section, which I need to stop in, was 470 mil. So from that last mark there, we need to go 470. Now we can square a line across these marks. Now you just need your tin snips. The idea here is to cut down, this is the middle of the sump, so you've got to cut down both sides here and both sides here, and then leave a bit of a lap on these sections here for when you turn this bit and this bit, you turn that up and you have the lap and you rivet it to the sides here, as you'll see. Okay, now I've cut down all those lines that I made. I've cut a bit of timber here to make it easy for myself when I stop end these sides, because I can just put it on the inside there, apply a bit of pressure to it and then bend the tin up. If you haven't got a bit of timber, you can just use your foot, as long as you get it along the edge of the line there and stand it up. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. I usually give it a tap with my hammer once I'm done, just to make it nice and straight. There we go. And the same on this side. Just also give the corners of the stop end a bit of a tap so it's nice and tight. And make sure you've got these laps that I've cut here on the outside. Okay, once you've got to this position, I normally put a rivet in each corner on the top side here to hold it in position. They're just temporary rivets. I'll take those out afterwards when I'm siliconing it all up, because you need to get silicone between that join before you finish. Okay, at this stage, I'm going to take this back over to the structure I've got there and just make sure that this fits in. And I'll work out where I want to put my downpipe outlets as well. Okay, that fits perfectly. As I said at the start, you want to give it just a little bit of play in there. Still making sure that the length of the box gutter is 400 mil, but yeah, you don't want to be too tight, or you'll have a lot of trouble trying to get it in there. As I said before also, it is crucial that you make sure both sides of this sump are level, because you need the base of the sump to be level. If it's on a bit of a tilt, you're going to have water pooling down one side, and you don't want that. It's going to put too much pressure on your joins, on your stop ends here, and all the silicone work you've done. You want to get that nice and straight so the water finds its way nice and easy to your downpipe outlet. When choosing your downpipe position, you want to make sure that there's no posts on the outside in the way, or anything underneath in the way. This structure I've got here, there's nothing in the way. The section that I chose to put this sump in was specifically because there was nothing here in the way. So I can make my downpipe position fairly close to the edge here, just on one side, and my overflow position. Normally I like to make the overflows underneath the box gutter, because I will take this box gutter about probably 120 mil into this sump, so it covers up this overflow slot. You don't want water going into the overflow all the time, so I'm going to make my overflow tight to the edge here. And my downpipe outlet right in the middle there. Okay, as I said before, I'm going to be using a 100 mil round downpipe pop and a 100 mil round PVC outlet to attach to the bottom of that. So I can take this back over to where I was and put those pops in. I'm going to cut for these downpipe pops are going to be on the bottom here. So I'll just pre-drill a hole through the center of where I want those. Now this one here in the middle, I know that one's my downpipe outlet. And this one across here is my overflow. Nice and close to the edge there. I'll just cut that side off. Now the reason I need to know which one's which is because I'm going to do them both slightly different. With this hole that I've marked here, I'm going to be cutting not quite as wide. I'm going to be cutting on the inside of that. I'll just show you about 5 mil on the inside of that line. And you'll see why when I put the downpipe pop in. But this one here, I need to go slightly wider than the line. A couple of mil wider than the line that I've made. So I'll just cut those out now. Okay, so my main downpipe here, I'm going to just tack that one on for now with a couple of rivets. I will be taking these back out shortly. Okay, so the downpipe outlet one goes from the bottom there, and your overflow one's going to go from the inside. So basically with the overflow, you place one of the pops that way, and then you place another one directly straight across the top of it. So it's called an overflow because if this outlet here gets blocked up, then the water's gonna pool up, and then it's gonna end up going down here before it gets to this level and tries to go inside the house. So this is your backup provision. So So I'll just put a couple of temporary rivets in this one also. Okay, so now that we've got all this in place, we've made the sump up to the size we require. We've done the downpipe outlet and the overflow outlet, and I've just temporarily put a rivet in the corners there. Now what I need to do is I need to drill all the other rivet holes. So quite a lot along the side here, both sides, and this side here as well. And quite a lot of rivets around this overflow and around the downpipe outlet here. Then I'm going to remove the rivets that I've got in there. I'm going to pull it all apart, and I'm going to put a heap of silicone between the joins of these. Then I'm going to push it back together and put all my rivets in there. You don't want to skimp on the silicone at this point here, because this sump will get a little bit of water in it, and if you haven't sealed it up properly, then it will leak into the house. So you really need to make sure that this section that I'm about to do here is absolutely perfect. Now I'm going to remove the rivets that I put in there. Okay, now we're going to remove the downpipe pops. I've made a mark here so that you get it back into exactly the same position. I've made a mark here on the pop and there so that this goes back into the same position once you've removed it. You just drill these rivets back out by going straight through them with the 1/8 bit again. Make sure you clean any of the swarf off the downpipe pop. And the same with the one on the inside here. Just make a mark exactly where you want to put that back in the same position. Clean any swarf off of those two as well. Okay, the idea now is to get rid of all these metal filings, which is the swarf which is stuck inside here. You want to give it a really good clean so that we can seal it up with the silicone. Okay, now you've got your plumber's roofing silicone. Just make sure you cut the end of the nozzle a bit wider. So with these sections here that I've stop-ended the box gutter and turned it into a sump, you want to get a heap of silicone between this join here on both sides, all the way down to the bottom of it. Now I'm going to put all those rivets in that side. Okay, now my main downpipe, I need to put a heap of silicone between the base of the sump and the downpipe pot.
Now I need to get these rivets through from the top here. That's a little bit tricky. You just got to reach inside there. Once you've got a couple in, you can flip it over.
And now the overflow downpipe. You put the first one in position. and then put some more silicone between the two. Now with this main downpipe, the reason I've left it a little bit smaller than the actual size of the pop is so I can turn down these edges here. That will make sure that all the water that gets in here really finds it nice and easy to go straight down into that main downpipe. So just using my hammer, I'm going to tap down these edges all around the inside of this downpipe pop. I'm going to go over the whole thing again with the silicone. And just rub all that in nicely. Make sure you cover all the rivet heads. Okay, we'll take that back around to my roofing structure over there, and we'll put some screws in it and put it in position and show you how it sits. Okay, let's make sure that this fits. Okay, that's perfect. As I stated earlier, the gap there's 420 mil, and and I've made the base of this 400 mil, so there's a little bit of play in there, so it's not too tight. Just make sure both sides are even with the sides of your box cutter here, and the heights are the same as I stated earlier, so that the base of this sump is nice and even. All the water should find its way then to this main downpipe. I'll put some, once you're happy with the position it's in, just put a couple of screws on the top here and on the top on this side also. Now on the VBA website, this is one of the preferred methods of installation of the sump they've got, with the overflow provision being the same size as your downpipe. Another way you can also do it that they show is you can cut a square hole in this side here. And you can make up a chute which goes to the outside of the building. The base of this hole you cut here for the chute needs to be 25 mil below your sides of your sump, so that the water doesn't get up to this height here. It needs to get away. If this downpipe blocks up, the overflow needs to get the water away before it gets up to the base of the box gutter. The same as what this one does here. I mean that's way less there. You've got 100 mil down from the base of the box gutter there. This situation works really well if you're doing an internal downpipe, and you can install your PVC 100 mil round downpipes. You can put some bends on, and you can take those pipes to wherever you need to take them. If you are taking them to the outside of the building, if you're going to do a 100 mil round PVC downpipe and a 90-degree bend and go straight out the wall here, then I feel there's a better way to do this, which I will show you in my next sump video. And I think the VBA should change the ruling to make the next one I'm going to show you the preferred method, because it lets out a lot more water and it's got a lot less chance of blocking up than this one does. When you attach the PVC to these pops, just remember you'll need to put a screw through the top of the pipe and into the pop to hold it there in position. Just make sure you also silicone up the around that screw. Just one other thing before I finish. Just make sure if you've got this kind of sump set up that you do clean out the leaves and the debris from your box gutter and your sumps probably every 2 to 3 months. I'm Darren from Metal Roofing Online, and thanks for watching.